Chris Jericho, thank you so much for joining us here at the Riff booth.
I am really excited to be at the Riff booth today, surrounded by a whole bunch of really other cool-looking booths, including what looks like a Mountie or something. Was that a Mariner over there? It's like a giant creature. Look, he's moving now. Look at that thing. What is that? It's a giant.
Well, I want you also to notice that we have a beautiful head shop here to our right, so if you inhale, you can actually enjoy that better.
Maybe that's why I saw the giant.
That's right, maybe so. So 32 titles, 6-time world champion, Chris Jericho. How do you balance wrestling in the WWE and a rock band, too?
You don't balance them. Fozzy's been the full-time commitment for the last 7 years or so. And the beauty of it is after working so hard with like a 17-year overnight sensation, now that Judas has kind of blown up, gone through the roof, thanks to fine people like yourself playing the song. And it's really cool. We've had successful songs in the past, but this puts you at a completely different level to have like the quote-unquote hit song. And it's a real gratifying experience to know after all this hard work we put in that everyone's enjoying our tunes now.
At what point did you say, you know what, I think I'm going to go on stage and sing with a rock band?
When I was 12.
Really?
Yeah, I've been in band since I was 13 years old.
Is that right?
Yeah.
But your dad was a professional hockey player, Ted Irvine, is that right?
Yeah, he played for the Rangers and the Kings and the Blues.
And why not hockey?
Because I sucked.
Simple answer, right?
I never liked team sports because I never knew what anybody looked like in hockey. They have helmets on, or football players have the masks on. I always loved rock and roll and wrestling. When I was a kid, that's what I wanted to do. I made up my mind that I was going to get in a rock and roll band and become a wrestler, and didn't care what anybody else thought about it, because a lot of people, I might as well have told them I wanted to be a sword swallower and a mime. I probably would have got taken a lot more seriously. How can you be a wrestler? You're too small. How can you be in a band? There's too many bands. And here we are, and I was able to do both at the highest of levels. So it was nonstop believing in myself and not listening to negative people.
What is the difference between a wrestling crowd and a rock crowd?
Not much. They're both high, aggressive, energetic crowds, and both type of vocations, good word, depend on the crowd. I mean, if you have a great crowd that's going crazy and just going nuts and screaming and yelling, you could have a terrible show or have a terrible match. If the crowd is into it, that's all that matters. Vice versa, you could have a perfect show, hit all the notes, hit all the moves in a match, and if the crowd's sitting on their hands, then you failed. You have to have that connection with the audience. And I always wanted to be the ultimate rock and roll frontman in the wrestling ring, and then took that to Fozzy, and it's all kind of works together in controlling a crowd.
So you had this great big personality in the ring, over the top. So do you think that helped you on stage with the rock band, or did you have to tone it down a bit?
No, it helped completely. And like I said, I got that personality from great rock and roll frontmen, from Paul Stanley and Freddie Mercury and David Lee Roth, like Bruce Dickinson, the greatest frontman of all time. That's what I wanted to do in wrestling, because wrestling took off before the band did. I still always played, but wrestling was the thing. And then when we started Fozzy, it was an easy way to just jump from one to the other, because like I said, it's all about connecting and controlling the crowd. And if people aren't having a good time, you better do whatever you got to do to make sure they have a good time, or they're not going to remember you, and that's a bad thing. Especially on a day like this, when you have 9 or 10 bands, you got some of the biggest rock and roll bands in the country and the world playing over on the main stage. We're headlining the stage over here, the Monster Energy stage, and we want to make sure that everybody who leaves the Monster stage and goes into the other stage just had their asses kicked going, wow, Fozzy was awesome. This is our chance.
So do you get asked more for wrestling tickets or concert tickets?
Both. People want free stuff all the time. I'm like, it's funny. We're doing a Fozzy Across America where we're playing 3 shows.
3 time zones in one day. Yeah.
And it's all done through great radio stations like yours. We're doing Fort Myers and El Paso and Las Vegas. And the Fort Myers ones, they're like 96 cents a ticket. I got a request today. Can we get 4 tickets for your show? I'm like, dude, it's 96 cents. Like, take some bottles into recycling and you can pay for the ticket. Like, I'm not going to do it,
So you also have a podcast, Talk is Jericho?
Yeah. It's something that I love to do. I love to talk to people. And I find a lot of times, like, later on today, I'm going to go talk to Jason Hook and Jeremy from Five Finger, because I never get a chance to see my friends. Like, you do a festival like this, you might see each other in catering for 2 seconds, but to really sit down and have a cool conversation, that's what I enjoy the most about it. Talking to friends and people that I don't know that I want to be my friend, or, it's just a really cool way to learn about people's lives in a long form interview, because I know what it's like to get asked the same dumb questions. I don't ask them. I know what it's like to have to do a radio tour when you're on 10 stations in an hour, six minutes a station of interview. You can't do anything. It's just stock answers. I like the long form interviews where you can kind of peel away the onion, so to speak, and get down and deep into what people are doing.
I agree. I love
Yeah,
those
it's fun,
too.
right? Yeah.
I know. I wish I had an hour to talk to you right now, but unfortunately I don't.
Well,
so
I have to have you on my podcast.
Hey, there you go. I'm going to take you up
Talk
on
is
that.
Jericho.
So what's in the future for Chris Jericho?
Man, I mean, it's funny because I doing so many things that all culminated around this time of year. I mean, the new record, Judas, comes out on October 13th. We're doing Fozzy across America. I just announced Chris Jericho's Rock and Wrestling Rager at Sea, a cruise where it's rock and roll and wrestling at sea, not just a catchy name.
That's awesome.
So that was 2 years of working on that. We did the Kiss cruise in 2015. I got off the boat and said, I can do this. I want my own cruise. It's kind of the way I always think. So there's all that sort of stuff. And then there's I just put a book out like 3 weeks ago, which I've already forgotten about. That's called No is a Four-Letter Word, which is kind of what we're talking about. So I know there's a lot of stuff going on, and I had to stop posting so many things because it's getting to be too much. So I have to kind of stagger it. But it's good because, like I said, it's all of these ideas and thoughts and concepts that come in my mind, and when you can bring them to fruition, that's the real cool thing. That's what I enjoy the most about being in showbiz, is having new ideas and creating new content and new ways for people to be entertained. That's what I'm all about.
Well, isn't that so much fun, though, that you're at a point in your life right now where you can enjoy all these mediums?
Right.
You know, and you can really follow your dreams.
Well, you can, and that's the thing. Like, once I made it in wrestling and once Fozzy took off, now I'm like dangerous because it's like, wow, like I did these two things. Well, what else can I do?
Yeah.
You know, and I turn down stuff all the time. I got an offer a couple days ago to host celebrity arm wrestling on like Fox Sports 12 or something. Like, that's the worst idea I've ever heard in my life. Like, here's Louis Anderson versus, Joey Buttafuoco in an arm wrestling match. But so you got to turn down some stuff sometimes too. And I want to make sure that when Chris Jericho's name is on something, that all the people who enjoy what I do know that it's 100% committed by me. And if I'm doing it, it's going to be the best I can possibly be to make it good.
Well, so that means that we're going to get an incredible show today.
We want to steal the show today, and we're going to steal the show. Watch out, Rob Zombie. I'm not even joking. We don't have props and giant spiders and flames. We just got us. And I think that's enough. We'll see.
So you're due to hit stage at 4:15 this afternoon, and then you're going to stick around and meet and greet some of the crowd at some point today.
Hang around and
so
Detroit's obviously, as Kiss said, Detroit Rock City. It's not a cliche. It's a great rock and roll town. It's a great wrestling town. It's a great Chris Jericho town. So it's always a pleasure to be here playing for all of the fine Detroit rockers.
Well, Chris, why don't we do some Fozzy right now? Let's hear
do it.
Judas.
Yes.
All right. Thank you so much,
Thank you,
Chris
Ann,
Jericho.
My pleasure. We'll see you today.
Fozzy on stage today. Don't miss it at 4:15. Still very few seats available in the pavilion for Riff Fest here at DTE. Let's hear Fozzy on 101 WRIF. It's the Riff.